Be all downhill from here. Manchester United win this game, and you've got a very nice December to follow. But it is all about this game, and you can't take things for granted. You can't fall into the trap of looking too far ahead because Ruben Amorim has a very good record against Mikel Arteta, and we're going to discuss that and more in today's Arsenal preview show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal preview show. Joining you the show before the next fixture, which in the case of Arsenal is a home clash in the league against Manchester United. A very exciting game, a historical rivalry, of course, for the division, but one that's probably not held the same kind of standard as it has 20 or so years ago. But it always brings up plenty of entertaining instances. And Arsenal have got a very good record now, of course, against Man United. You saw from the slides this morning on the morning show just how many days it's been since they've lost against a Big Six team, Man United being one of the key ones. I think it's 611 or 12 days since we last lost a league game. And we'll also be playing them in the FA Cup, which we'll be talking about shortly as well. I'm joined, as always, by one of our fantastic members of the Discord server. And today, it's Garrett. How you doing, Garrett? You good, Joel?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to this game now. It's always a big one.
It is indeed. It's massive. It always gets built up by, the television broadcasters with the highlights of, the massive goals, the Giggs goal, the Martin Keown, Ruud van Nistelrooy, chaos at Old Trafford, Van Persie, of course, the narrative surrounding him, Danny Welbeck scoring at Old Trafford in the FA Cup quarter-final as well. Those moments, of course, but it is a game that I think has kind of lost its gloss a little bit, would you say, since kind of those I mean, I said I brought up Welbeck in that example and Van Persie, but even then, I don't think it had the same stature as it had, say, when Keown was shouting in Ruud van Nistelrooy's face, for example.
No, I mean, that was kind of when I was young, but no, it definitely didn't. I mean, it's kind of, well, unfortunately for us, we've kind of dipped off since those kind of those days in South United, so no, it definitely hasn't had the same intensity, maybe. As it did back then, and that's I mean, something like that returning, I think would be great because I know plenty of United fans when we beat them.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruben Amorim is now the manager. Erik ten Hag has gone. It's always irritating, isn't it, when you play a team that have no longer got the manager that so many other teams had so much joy in kind of sauntering past without too much challenge, and now you've got to play aside. And I've always been kind of in the mind that I feel like player transfer windows, there should be managerial transfer windows as well, where if you're going to sack a coach, it should be kind of halfway through the season, or you have to wait until the following season. You have to let kind of a manager do their job, because otherwise, is that a fair kind of sporting level for all games, for all teams across, if they're changing coaches partway through the season? Not something that I expect ever to be implemented, but Man United have experienced something of a small bounce. They drew their game against Ipswich, but they won the European match, of course, coming from behind to win 3-2. And then they beat Everton very handily 4-0. And one player in particular that looks revitalised is Marcus Rashford as well. We'll talk about him in a second. But what have you made of the early job that Ruben Amorim has done, and how threatening do you think Man United are with him in charge, both now and into the long-term future?
Yeah, I think they look better, a lot better. I mean, that isn't hard, obviously, towards the end of Ten Hag's tenure. Pretty bleak, but I think the way Amorim plays as well kind of utilises the squad a bit better. We use the likes of Diallo regularly. I think it's definitely, I think the games against United, I think we've had the tendency to kind of act as a bit of a springboard for them. Past few years, we'll be playing pretty well, but we'll always give them a bit more of the game than we should. So, hopefully that isn't the case this time. But they look kind of like they could turn a corner, but we've said that a few.
We have said that a few times before, yeah, and it's always been something of kind of a false dawn in many ways for kind of Manchester United sometimes, and we've seen it with Mourinho, we've seen it with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They've never really been able to kind of reach the heights that so many of us have thought they might do, and the fall from the Sir Alex Ferguson period as well has been quite significantly. It's been noted, but they've never been able to kind of find that rhythm, never been able to get into kind of any kind of form to be a title contender ever since he left. You've seen sides like Chelsea pick up titles, Liverpool pick up titles, Man City be so dominant, Arsenal return to the elite level and compete for titles again. But Man United have just never been able to recover from Ferguson's loss. They'll be hoping that Amorim can be the guy to do that. But Rashford, as I mentioned, looks a threat again. Xerxes getting a couple of goals recently. Rasmus Højlund also scoring. There's plenty of attacking quality that's available to them. Are they of any way a concern to you, or are you very confident that we can shut them out?
No, I think that they are always a concern, especially Rashford when he's on form. I think go to Emirates out of absolutely nowhere from about 25, 30 yards, just rockets one in.
He's I think twice he's scored a goal kind of like that in recent games.
But you know what I mean? That was out of nothing. So I know at that time he was in great form, but he has that in his locker, and I think especially if he's in a little run of form, you know, he's a dangerous man to be up against. So no, I think we'll have a work cut out for us, but I think as long as we kind of stay composed, keep the head, which at the Emirates, you know, we don't always do, which is funny. You know, we kind of find ourselves keeping better defensive records away from home. So look, I hope we can keep our head screwed on, but you know, a lapse in judgment could be a
Yeah, and we need to make sure that we do have the concentration that we, you know, sometimes this season has been a little bit lacking at times, and the Bournemouth game obviously comes to mind, the Newcastle game as well. You know, lapses of judgment, mistakes in games. Yes, we've suffered red cards that I wouldn't even put down necessarily to us, but it's something that we need to be conscious of. It seems as though we'll have the majority of our squads available. Mikel Arteta did face the media earlier on today. As predictable as he is, he didn't reveal kind of any details regarding team news. We know that Mika Moreno and Thomas Partey suffered injuries ahead of the game against West Ham. He didn't provide any clarity on those two. We know that Gabriel and Calafiori were taken off in that game against the Hammers to manage their minutes more than an injury. So it's hoped they'll both be available. I did enjoy the fact that Gabriel posted saying, "See you Wednesday" on social media. And then when Arteta was asked about that, he just said, "Well, everyone wants to play." It's clearly, I think, internally a little bit irritated maybe by his player revealing whether or not he's going to be there. But I think it was fairly obvious that he was always going to be. But if it is to be, and I know we'll come to our lineup shortly, but Jorginho, for instance, has started the last two league games. It could be that he needs to start a third in quick succession. But I think that what he's shown in these last two games, at least, has given us plenty of encouragement that he still has plenty of quality to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, much like yourself, I've been pretty encouraged. I think the only thing I would say is much like, you know, maybe not quite the extent, but Anthony Langa in the Forest game when Jorginho got burnt and just had to, you know, just take him out. I could see maybe something similar happening with the likes of maybe Diallo or Garnacho or Rashford. So I'm slightly hesitant just for that reason in terms of his actual midfield role. No qualms for me. I think controlling the game, controlling the tempo. Yeah, a great addition to be honest. But for that reason, we'll see the lineups. But yeah, I would be a bit skeptical of dropping him in.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, you know, Partey has been our best midfielder this season. But again, as we've mentioned on the channel before, a spontaneous injury happens and we have to then deal with that. And that then raises questions about his future as well and decisions about contracts that need to be made also. But hopefully Jorginho and Declan Rice can step up. He completely rested Gabriel Martinelli for the game against West Ham as well. Leandro Trossard started, Raheem Sterling came on. Do you think that was with the idea that he would therefore then be fully rested to come in for this game?
Yeah, I do think so. I think the way they play, I know we'll have the majority of the ball, so they could just be a flat back five for them. But if, you know, we can hit them in transition, Mazraoui could be a bit further up and the space there. You know, if he has to, it'll be Dragon, who I suppose Licht would be their right centre back. You know, Dragon's Licht wide might be as comfortable against Martinelli's pace. You know, I could see it being a good matchup for us. So, yeah, I think he rested him with the full intention to start tomorrow night.
Yeah, I agree. And I think now with somebody like Martinelli, who is going to be fully rested, you're going to be up against, as you mentioned, Mazraoui. There's going to be players missing for them. We know Lisandro Martinez is suspended. Kobbie Mainoo also suspended. So that's two big losses to that team. You know, we can all laugh at the idea of Havertz going up against Martinez or Gabriel going up against Martinez from corners and set pieces. But he has still got a decent aerial record, and he's also been one of their most consistent defenders when he's been available for them. And the fact that they're going to have to bring players in that maybe haven't played as many minutes, perhaps it'll be Lindelof, perhaps it'll be Maguire. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not 100% sure as to Maguire's recent availability for them. Just have a quick look at their lineup from the last game they played against Everton. Their back line was De Ligt, Mazraoui, Martinez was the back three, then Diallo and Dallo were the two sides of it. On the bench, Maguire was there. Luke Shaw was also there. They also had Tyrell Malacia, who played in their Europa League game in midweek as well, playing that left wing back role. So they've got options. They've got opportunities that you think that Maguire would probably slot in, unless they want to use Luke Shaw in that left-sided centre half spot. Casemiro played in midfield with Kobbie Mainoo, and then of course they can bring somebody in like Mason Mount if they want to bring him in. They've got Manuel Ugarte, who they can also start, who's not had the best of starts to life at Man United. And Bruno Fernandes also suffered a bit of an issue, but I don't think that's thought to be too bad. So it might be that we see him as well pop up for the game against Arsenal. Is there a more annoyingly looking player that you've ever come across? The way he reacts to everything is so frustrating, is it not?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. I think it was a few seasons ago when he missed that penalty at the Emirates. That was very, very fun. I think it was at the Emirates anyway. Maybe it was Old Trafford.
Yeah. He was. It's just something about him. I really, really do not like the guy. And this is a guy that's got a Sporting Lisbon shirt with his name on the back from when he played there as well. When I watched Sporting a few years ago in the home stadium, and he was still there, and I really enjoyed him as a football back then. I didn't know him as the person. I only appreciated him as the footballer, and I kind of wish I was still in those times for a certain degree. Anyway, let's jump to lineup, shall we? And we go through your starting 11, which I think is obviously pretty straightforward, but does come with the caveat of Partey and Calafiori and Gabriel all being fit and available.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think the full back pairings are working really well at the minute. I think that kind of it just helps the balance a bit more. Left footer on the left, right footer on the right. Yeah, as you said, we think that Calafiori and Gabriel coming off was precautionary, so I've dropped them out in here. And yeah, Timber I think has been brilliant. And I think he's kind of just building up the momentum. So yeah, he's in there for sure. Partey, yeah, as we've said, we don't know, but if he's fit, I would put him in there. I mean, his legs are, he has some legs. They're not, as bad as Jorginho's, for what of a better term. But yeah, he'd be in there, right beside him, and then Odegaard up top. Well, top of the field, of course. I think that goes without saying. He's back and he's running the show. And then left wing, Martinelli, as we talked about. Up top, Havertz, and right wing, Saka.
Yeah, I think it is a team at the moment that picks itself. The only one that Arteta will be kind of like looking at maybe is again that left-hand side, Martinelli. Is he going to carry on with Trossard after his performance against West Ham? Is he going to go with Martinelli? How is he going to, change it up? Because the last time we played a back three was at Inter, and we really struggled to kind of create, the relevant amount of chances. We didn't have Odegaard in that game, of course, and we were away from home, which in Europe has been a real challenge for us. You've gone the exact same team that I've gone for, only with Kai Havertz, of course, as our TGT star man at the moment. Are there this Rice kind of the left 8 position for Rice, which I think when we signed Mikel Moreno, there was a feeling that maybe we would see Rice, Moreno, and Odegaard be the starting midfield three because of injuries. That's not been able to happen. Also because of Partey's form, we've not wanted or needed to do that yet. But are there games perhaps when you play at home and you've got, Man United are a good team, but you still would expect Arsenal to dominate most of the ball in this game? Is Rice one of those players, again, when you look at the left 8 and you think that's still an area where we could probably do more in terms of having an attacking player in there and moving Rice into a more of a defensive position?
Yeah, I do. I agree. And I think they'll probably look to do that more next season when, in my opinion, I think Partey will go. I think, as we can see again, 1 week he's fine, and then the next few days he could potentially be out again. So I think that's not only that, but I think that is definitely one of the reasons he will go. I think when that happens, I think Rice will be dropped back, and yeah, hopefully we bring in someone that's kind of that more offensive minded midfield, or you never know, maybe someone like him.
Yeah, I think when Airy has got a real chance of being kind of that figurehead. I don't know if it means moving Ødegaard to the left and moving Guarneri kind of there, but the partnership that Ødegaard and Saka have built up has been so good that you don't really want to break it. Moreno, of course, we brought in also to be that figurehead. He's not a DM; he is a box-to-box midfielder. He offers you, attacking threat, as we saw against Liverpool. He scored against Nottingham Forest. It was only to be ruled out for offside as well. He's a threat in the box when you get the ball in there. So he definitely can offer something in that box-to-box left 8 position. But I think still, if Partey was to go, you're right. I think Rice would move deep. I think it's interesting because if Jorginho goes as well, you could argue that we definitely still need to bring in competition at the number 6 role with Partey leaving too. It's not just going to be, dealt with by Rice moving into that position if you lose both of them. There's even been some suggestions that maybe Arsenal should try and keep Jorginho for another year beyond this contract because he is just so reliable when he is called upon. But we'll finish the show with predictions. So chat box is now your time to jump in. Dejan says Havertz a star player. Well, he is our top scorer, Dejan. So you can't bemoan that. Star man being a star top scorer. It's not too controversial, I don't think. Predictions then. Scoreline and scorers, please, Gareth.
Yeah, I'll go to 3-1. I like the way I think we're back to our best in terms of attacking football. And although I know we did struggle last time against back 3, I think Odegaard, his influence on the attack and just really everything build up just can't be underestimated. I think shouldn't struggle as well. And to be honest, I think Inter are obviously a better team than United. But yeah, 3-1, and I will go Saka, Havertz, and Odegaard.
Lovely stuff. Saka, Havertz, Odegaard's 3-1. Yeah, I think we got a good chance of scoring a few goals here. But a glimpse can get a couple at Old Trafford, so you'd reckon that we'd be able to score at least 2. So I'm going to go with 4-1 to Arsenal in this one. It'd be great to keep a clean sheet. It's just difficult seeing Arsenal do that at the moment because there are some little cracks showing. Of course, Kai Havertz on the score sheet for a couple of those. It's great to see Ødegaard get a goal from open play, I think, as well. And it's always nice seeing Bukayo Saka nick Marcus Rashford's celebration when we tend to play against Man United and he scores. So maybe we'll see that again at the Emirates. Grant says 3-1 to the Arsenal, like you, Garrett, and 2 pints for me. Ranty says 3-2 Arsenal, Saka and Bukayo and Bukayo Saka with the goals. 3 separate entities there for Ranted. Daryl says 3-1 Arsenal. Joining us on Twitch. Is he the only one? Yes, the only listener we have, as always, on Twitch. We do stream there, but I understand everyone listens on YouTube and social media. Mohammed's 4-0 Arsenal. Cupid Scar says Arsenal 4-1 as well. Alex says 2-1 Arsenal. Saka, Ødegaard and Rashford early goal, which is almost guaranteed these days. Jamil says 2-1 to the Arsenal. King says 5-0 Arsenal. Saka first Premier League hat-trick and Martinelli and Gabriel to score as well. United are a mid-table team. Peter says 2-1 Arsenal. Grande Gunnar says with Garrett as well on this with a 3-1 win. AA says 3-0. Dejan says 2-1. We always struggle to play against Man United. Radical says 5-1 to the Arsenal. 2 penalties for us. Amira says classic 3-1. 1 half with Arsenal, all goals coming in that same half, of course, as well, and doing a job, I think, therefore, like we did at West Ham in the second. Maximius says 3-1 to the Arsenal. First name says 0-0. No goals from first name, last name. Michael says 3-0 Havertz, Saka, and Saliba with the goals. Anthony going for a 3-1 Arsenal, Saka, Havertz, and Big Gabby set piece Galazzo once again. Garrett, thank you so much, mate, for your time. Really appreciate it. Tell people where they can find you and what you're going to be up to.
Yeah, no, as always, find me in the Discord. Join up. It's good crack.
Thank you, mate, and best of luck as well with the exam that's coming up for you also. And hopefully, I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you absolutely smash it, mate. So good stuff there. You can find Garrett and all of our other members in our Discord server. I did leave a new link in there for those that have joined up recently as expert members or TGT ambassadors. So if you go over to the community tab, you should be able to find that link. Let me know if it ever goes out of date again. But thank you, as always, for tuning in. Do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. to round up Mikel Arteta's press conference and any other news from the last 24 hours from the point of that show. Speak to you soon. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.